My name is Seerat, and I'm a finance major at DePaul University, and I'm also double minoring in economics and industrial organizational psychology. And while I'm on campus, I'm one of the founders and treasurers of the DePaul Females in Finance Initiative, along with being vice president of DePaul Women in Business and being a Keeley Scholar. After graduation, I'll be pursuing a career in corporate and commercial banking, which was extremely foreign to my family and myself in the beginning. And in the long term, I actually hope to become the CEO of a major financial institution. And I distinctly remember walking around my floor at the first internship I had at a major bank here in Chicago. And I remember thinking and walking around thinking, wow, I am once again one of the only women of Indian and Punjabi and sort of Sikh descent, and all these memories of being the only one started to come back to me. And I think thinking about the people who have traditionally walked in the halls of this bank, I was well aware of the fact that me even being here in my presence was extremely untraditional. And I'll never forget the moment. One of the first weeks of my internship, one of my managing directors organized a formal lunch at the Union League Club in Chicago. And I remember being in this really grand private room with a photo of the Claude Monet painting that the club owned right behind me. And I remember looking down at my plate and literally seeing, these three plates, these 15 forks beside me, and all these drinks that I quite literally didn't even know how to use or hold properly, and just feeling so much pure embarrassment that I just didn't know how to do this. And I've never had my culture or my identity sort of glare back at me so obviously before. And even though my team was extremely kind to me, that they turned this into a teaching moment, I think what's important to note here is that their kindness was simply the exception and not the norm. Finance is profoundly known to be a extremely elitist, I would say, industry, and so it's opportunities like this where they can literally weed people like me out of their system. And I understood that pretty early on because growing up, I ate lentils and fresh vegetables and rotis sort of made from wheat. That's part of the staple Punjabi diet. And I think that having that experience really taught me to just share my culture with my colleagues. And that made me so much more comfortable to take on more tasks and take on leadership that I was shy or timid to do earlier. And sharing culture with your colleagues is also something that isn't really, I would say, encouraged or even is traditional in the industry. And I think doing so really helped jumpstart this push for diversity and inclusion, at least in my life and in the small bubble I was able to impact. And I hope to do more work in the future that can transcend and pay it forward to other people who sort of helped me on this path. I think that diversity without inclusion can simply be tokenism at times. And what's important to understand is to further this movement, people of all income levels, genders, races, and religion can really come together to bring this movement to fruition. And I think that it takes a lot of grassroots organizing within universities, within people itself, that can be really powerful to really make sure that the places we work are inclusive and just our world and society in general is inclusive. And I think that we have a lot of work to do in the future in terms of making sure that we unlearn a lot of the misogynistic characteristics that can sometimes be passed down to us unintentionally. And through this process of organizing and unlearning, I truly do believe that there's so much power in making sure that inclusion is real and that it's happening every single day. And I think that but through daily conversations, we can commit to this. And what I also find beautiful is that within all of our diversity and the commonality and synergy that we find, that's extremely just beautiful as to who we are as people, and that's what we ought to celebrate. And I think that while it's a privilege to be the first to do something, or it's the privilege sometimes to be the only one in the room, what's more important and where the true accomplishment really lies and is the amount of people that you're able to bring in and really leave the door open for after you become the first or the only one. And all of the experiences that I have had in life, I've had a lot of experiences that tell me that I am the only one to do something or I'm the first to do something. But I want to create more opportunities for other women to come in after me and really continue this cycle of paying it forward. And I want that to be the mission of what I do every single day. In July of 2020, I and 8 other women who met through the Keeley Academy program, we were admitted into the first cohort when it was started. We were a group of 38 students, with only 8 of us being female. And all of us became extremely close, and we collectively understood that even though we were the first women to be a part of this cohort, we collectively shouldn't be the last. And most of my finance classes and student organizations were made up of majority male professors and students. And those environments can sometimes be extremely unwelcoming to somebody who maybe identifies as female or any other genders that aren't represented within the major. And I think that because of that uncomfortability, more people feel less inclined to speak up and take advantage of opportunities that the university might be providing. And what's really interesting is, according to a study conducted by McKinsey called Women in the Workplace, they found that in 2020, for every 100 men that were promoted, only 72 women were also promoted to a manager position. And what they find is that the more seniority that you go in sort of those managerial levels, there's less and less women to recruit from. So even though, maybe at the entry level or at the lower management level, we might be promoting more women historically from what the data has been shown, what's important to note is that when we get to the top, there's significantly fewer women to choose from. So it's almost like women can literally never catch up to the statistics because of just how much the odds can sometimes be against us, because there's simply too few women to advance when you get that top. To that top of the organization. And I think before we started our student organization, which is named the DePaul Females in Finance Initiative, it was really hard to find inclusive spaces at DePaul that would really build a community and give you a chance to experience mentorship and guidance. And I find myself to be extremely lucky to be surrounded by mentors from the industry and professors who've really sort of taken me under their wing. And I think with now our organization, we have almost 60 members. We have over 280 LinkedIn followers and 8 major financial institutions that are backing us today. I think it's so important to see the support that we're getting from industry, but also recognize that there is immense work to be done. And I think that all these corporations that are backing us and all of these companies that are coming to speak to our members, we want to foster this community so it stays for the next 5 years. And I'm proud to also say that my organization has become the recipient of an endowment fund that will keep us going for the next 5 years and really help us achieve these goals that haven't been achieved by student organizations in the past. We want to become the first student organization to host a women-centric summit at the Driehaus College of Business and create networking opportunities for women who traditionally might not have had that to really pursue their careers. And I'm really excited for this work. And I think being a leader in this organization and connecting with all these women that we've brought into our organization, listening to their stories, and seeing where they come from and drawing that commonality and that similarity that both stories have is extremely powerful. And even going back to having lunch with my colleagues, I find that the strength is between the synergy that we can all build and really focus on what is similar between all of us rather than what is different. And there's so much power that comes from that innate diversity, which I think is the cornerstone of this movement of diversity and inclusion. And I'd also like to note that without inclusion, diversity seems to be tokenism. And I think my organization, especially at DePaul for female students, plays a key role in their lives to make sure that they feel included and they feel empowered to go and pursue the career that they want to pursue. Also, in the future, I would love to see this cycle continue to pay it forward. And my bigger dream is I want more people to take advantage of the awesome resources that DePaul has and that our community gives us, so we can do better when it comes to organizing in a grassroots kind of way. I believe in the power of organization and people organizing to really make change happen. And I think there's so much support in the industry, and personally, everything I've gone through in my life has really brought me to this moment that has helped me ask, do you want to be the last to do something, even though you were the first? And while being the first has immense privilege, I think your success is always measured by how much you were able to give back and who also kept coming through that door after you left it open.